In this video, we're going to be showcasing 6 different custom boat blinds that were shared in the MakerPipe community, and these are all made with off-the-shelf EMT electrical conduit and fittings that we manufacture in upstate South Carolina that allow you to turn ordinary EMT conduit into all kinds of awesome things like the duck blinds that we're going to be checking out. And you can combine those two materials to build these awesome structures and different things without having to do any welding or using power tools. And we're going to go over some duck blinds that were shared, and hopefully you can get some ideas for things that you can incorporate into your duck blind project in the future. So this first one comes from JD, and this is awesome. I love this one. This one was shared not too long ago, about 9 months ago, I guess right around the beginning of last fall, and this is really cool. And this one has a nice paint job and is just an awesome project all around. And essentially we can see here that it's got kind of a similar design that we see where one side is taller than the other, but it has a lot of bends incorporated into it using a handheld pipe and tube bender. That's something else that you can do pretty easily to get some nice angles and do different things in your project. But we can see there's some really nice bends in the build. We can see there's some on the other side as well that go up, and we can see a wide variety of different MakerPipe connectors that were used in this project, like the adjustable angle hinge connector. We can see that there is a lot of those actually. We can see a ton of different adjustable angle connectors. We can see some MakerPipe T connectors, which are a really versatile connector. Just all kinds of connectors used in this, to make this duck blind happen. And just really good techniques. Like I said, the one side being taller than the other is a great thing to do, especially if you're going to be standing up, a lot. And if you don't want to create hinging panels, which we'll look at some ideas along the way of hinging panels, but if you don't want to do that, then you can kind of design the blind to have, a taller side on one side than the other. And, that works out for, kind of avoiding having to do the panels because you can just kind of have a built-in window that you can stand up in. So that's really cool and just a really great project. And we went more in depth on this specific build a while back. I'll link a video down below that you can check out if you want to see kind of a more in-depth overview and breakdown of the design and the connectors and different things like that. But this is a really great project that we can see from JD, and really appreciate you posting it. Here's a few more photos of it. I love seeing this photo of his dog in there. But yeah, a couple more photos of it from different angles, and just a really great build. So thanks so much for sharing this. Next up is a blind put together by Travis, and this is really fantastic. I love seeing this photo with it all put together. A lot of times we see just the frames without the camo and the grass and different things on it. But here, this one, we can see it in place out in the wild, and it looks fantastic. And this one has some really unique design choices in it. We can see here that it kind of goes up and kind of looks kind of like a volcano shape or a mountain shape, where it kind of goes up at an angle and then peaks at the top there and has an opening to stand up in, and kind of incorporated some more bends in it like we saw with JD's blind. We can see a lot of T connectors in here. We can see, mostly T connectors. I see a few adjustable angle connectors in there as well, I think, and essentially just, built this framework kind of standard like we see, and then, put some grass on the outside. We'll look at a technique for that. But we can see here that this one has a frame around the bottom of the boat, and that's kind of similar to what we see with a lot of boat blinds where they have an EMT conduit, kind of rung all the way around the base of the boat, and that's kind of how they're attached. And you can do that in different methods. We see, everything from hanger straps to custom mounts, all kinds of different ways that you can secure it to your boat. Kind of just depends on the boat that you're working with and the channels that you have on the outside and different things. If you have a specific boat or a mount that you need, you can comment down below or reach out to us, and I can see if I can help you find one. But we've seen a lot of different solutions in the community. It's really cool, and I love this one because we can see that they use some of these ABS panels, some of that thin plastic, and secured that to the outside of the frame along with cattle panels that are secured to that plastic using some washers and looks like some self-drilling screws, and that gives you a really good kind of grid panel system that you can secure grass to the outside of the frame. And then we can see that they painted it, and it looks fantastic. And then we'll go back to this original photo, and we can see all the grass secured to the outside of those panels, and it just looks really awesome in place there, and it's just a really great blind. So thanks so much, Travis, for sharing this. Really appreciate it. Next up is a blind by Bob, and this is really fantastic because this one is made to be taken apart really quickly, and it has some hidden tricks that you can't really see at the first look that contribute to it being able to be taken apart and put up quickly. First of all, down here in the boat, he made these custom mounts with just some wood that he bore out, and the empty conduit goes into. And then we can see up here that he actually combined the hack or made the hack using 3/4 inch EMT conduit and 1/2 inch EMT conduit, along with some of these tent pole clips that you can actually use to telescope and snap pieces of conduit together. And so he made this frame so he can easily, kind of pop out the verticals and then attach these other pieces to make this whole cube structure really quickly. And I think he said it takes like 5 minutes to take apart and put back together. By using that hack, he can, easily put the whole frame together and then has this nice blind on the outside of the boat. And then he adds the grass on the outside, as we can see there. And I think he's temporarily got it in place with those clamps, or maybe he leaves those clamps on there all the time. Could just be another quick solution there to be able to, finish off the blind and put it together quickly. But this is a really awesome idea and just has some really great techniques that I wanted to highlight in case you wanted to, incorporate some of them for a really quick blind that you can put together yourself. So really cool. Thanks so much for sharing this. Next up is a video that I definitely recommend checking out if you're building a custom conduit and maker pipe boat blind. This was shared by Diver Dev Outdoors on YouTube, and I'll link the video and channel down below, of course. We can see here he's got all kinds of awesome things incorporated into his blind. He's got these hinging panels that are really fantastic. He's got a kickstand that swings out and holds the panel up in place, as we can see there, and just got some really unique things incorporated into this blind. And he has this video where he walks through and talks about them. And we can see there it is with the T connectors, and that's what's allowing it to hinge over. And then he's able to, kind of secure that in place there. And he's got the bungee cords that actually pull the panels over. And, because of the tension there, it's actually assisting with hinging those. So you can pop those open quickly if you need to stand up. You got ducks or, whatever flying over. You can do that really easily with that hack. And that's really awesome. And just lots of cool things incorporated into this. So like I said, definitely check out his video. I'll link it down below so you can check out more of his ideas in his YouTube channel. But really cool. Thanks so much for sharing this. Next up is another simple boat blind that was shared by Bruce. And here we can see it in place with a very similar technique that I've talked about that we see pretty often, where you've got the bottom part of the frame is kind of resting on the boat. We can see here that it just sits on the outside of the seats in here, as we can see, and then essentially just goes up from there with maker pipe T connectors, and there's 6 verticals total, and then some maker pipe 90-degree connectors on top that are just functioning as that corner connection, to secure the piece going all the way to the back down there. And then of course the cross sections, we can kind of see it's the same angle, so it's kind of hard to mark the pipes, but essentially we can see it's basically making that cube structure using the 90s and then some T connectors in there, and then it's just secured to the boat here. And I don't see exactly how it's mounted to the boat. Maybe it just sits in there. I'd recommend securing it in some way if it's not, but let's see if we can zoom in here and see anything that's securing it. Maybe some flanges on the back there. We've also seen people use just maker pipe, or not maker pipe, but electrical, just 1-hole or 2-hole hanger straps. That just means you have to, kind of put a screw in the side of your boat. So you may not want to do that, but if you don't mind doing that, that's a really easy and simple technique you can do. Otherwise, we've seen some really creative things for people to secure those in place, like I said earlier, and we can kind of help with that. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments down below. But a really cool and simple boat blind, and then we can see here it is with all the grass and the camo on it, and it looks fantastic, and it's just a nice, easy, pretty inexpensive project. It's going to be a few sticks of conduit, which is usually about $10 for a 10-foot stick of 3/4 inch, and then it looks like about maybe 12 connectors, so maybe another 50, 75 bucks in connectors. So not too much money to build a simple blind, and you can get out there and do some hunting really easily. So really awesome. Thanks so much for sharing this, Bruce. We love seeing it. Last but not least is more of an octagon-shaped boat blind, which is really unique. We haven't seen this done really too often. This might be the only time, and this was shared by Steven, where essentially he's got a boat frame that he put together here, a blind frame, using the maker pipe flanges. That's how he secured it to his boat. And basically the verticals just go up from the deck of the boat, and then he's got the maker pipe 135-degree connectors being used to make this more of an octagon shape, which is really cool. Like I said, we often see people do that kind of mountain or volcano design where it kind of goes up to a peak. And we can see here that this is no different, but the way he did it was, instead of using the handheld tubing bender, he uses the maker pipe 135-degree connectors to create this kind of half an octagon shape, and then has that window in the top that you can stand up in. And then it's essentially just pretty standard frame with 4 verticals going up in the corners, attached with those maker pipe flanges to the boat deck, as we saw, and then the 135s to add the horizontal sections of conduit from one end of the boat to the other. And then, of course, the pieces that are going up and terminating in the connector there, and then connecting between those 135s on both sides like that. And then of course the last one is going to be this horizontal piece at the top to kind of make that flat top section. But really cool, just utilizing all 135 degree connectors, which is pretty unique, not something we've seen before. We normally see that used for, like roof peaks and greenhouses, but this is a really fantastic use and idea, Steven. So thanks so much for posting it. Thanks everybody for sharing your builds. As always, we love seeing them. I'll link all these down below if you want to check any of them out in more detail. And as I said, if you have any questions about anything specific with any of your ideas or any blind that you want to put together, feel free to leave those down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.